Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so we're going to stand with our butts kind of like perching on the table. And again, it depends on our height. How tall are you? Okay, so just kind of let's take a minute to feel how the feet are coming in contact with the ground and how much of the feet is touching the ground. And the reason I said perching, so you have something to lean on, so you're not standing, and you can just pay attention to how the feet are coming in contact with the ground and how many toes are touching the carpet and which part of the pads in front of the toes touch the carpet, and if one area has more pressure than other. And how about the heels? And which side of the heel? And once you have like an image, inner picture of how you're standing, start rolling the right heel to the right and back to center, and see if that feels like, in your habitual picture of doing things, if that feels comfortable or that feels uncomfortable. And don't lift your toes, just roll the heel to the right and back to center. Is that lengthening on the outside of the ankle something that feels, yeah, that's something I do? Is that one of my pattern? Only the right leg, only the ankle or the heel to the right, and how much of it is going to the right. Okay. And then take it to the left, going inward. Is that part of your pattern? Is that a language, movement language that you use? Do you ever bring your heel inwardly? So some of us like to evert the foot and some like to go inward. Eversion or inversion. And again, it's not right or wrong, it's a choice that we have in our brain. The connections are all there. It's like, what do we use? What's our to go to? And what we do here on Friday morning is we try to look at ours and maybe open up other options. So we can use ourselves a little bit better, with a little bit more comfort, with a little bit more ease. So that's for the right foot. Now we're going to go to the left foot. Does your left foot like to go out? I don't know about you, but if I were, as a kid, if I were to run, I would usually hurt my outer ankle by flipping out and kind of. So some of us have already history and memory in that area. And is the heel moving unrelated to the knee, or does the knee come with it? How is the left one different from the right one? Is one more flexible than the other? And then going inward to inversion. And rest in the center. And now we're going to go with both of them out in center. And don't go to your max. Just try to, if you tell, like some of us like to feel that we're doing something. So if you're one of those people that like to go, yeah, I like that stretching, I like that movement, just make it so small that you know every part of the way, and can you do it effortlessly. So put the attention into the slowness and into the comparing between the right and the left. And how does it affect your toes? Is there a shift also in the toes towards the little toe when you're going to the outer part of the heel? Can you feel a movement in your knees? Can you feel a movement in your hip that's perching on the table? Can you feel the opening when you're on the outer part of the heel and the closing of the pelvis when you're in? And next we're going to go inward, both of them inward. How does the foot respond to the movement of the heel? Are you shifting from one toe to the next? Is your little toe loses touch with the floor when you're going inward? Is the size of the movement the same on both feet? Are the knees and the hip responding equally on both sides? When you're returning, do your toes return gradually, one toe at a time? And let it go and rest. And if your knee hurts, then you do less. You imagine the movement. You don't go into a pain. Now we're going to go to the right, to the outer side on the right foot, and on the inner on the left foot. So if you're a skier, you may recognize that going down the hill. Have your knees nice and soft, maybe you want, yeah, soft, and allow the legs to shift from the right to the left. Imagine that you are going down a ski slope on the mountain. And you have the shifting of weight from the right to the left on the heels, from right to the left on the foot pads above the toes, and through the toes, from little toe on the left and the big toe on the right, to the little toe on the right and the big toe on the left. Is one knee bending more than the other as you're going to that side? Are you giving in to that side? Are you lowering your weight? If you are lowering your weight, do you feel the up and down through the hip going as they're going to the outside of your right foot? Is your right hip leaning heavier on the table. When you come up, there's hardly any pressure. And when you go to the left, you're leaning towards the left, and the left hip is sinking into the table. And once you get that beautiful shifting of weight, start having fun and going down a hill. There's an up on the pelvis and down on the pelvis. There's an up on the knee and down on the knee. And if the image of a mountain slalom doesn't appeal, then think about a machinery, a pump. Lifting, getting more air between the joints, and pressing down and having less, compressing. Breathing in as you come up and breathing out as you exhale and going to the outside of the feet. And as you're transitioning, you inhale, and as you go to the other side, you exhale. And soft knees the whole time. Maggie, I think if you had your feet a little bit wider, you'd be able to feel that. See if you can let go the hands from the table and put it on your lower dantian, like on the lower part of your belly, holding your belly, even if you don't have one. And lift the belly as you inhale, and let it relax as you exhale. And with a little bit of a kind of, my hands are on the top of the pubis bone, and I'm lifting the belly, I'm rolling it in as I inhale, and I let it sink down as I exhale. Another image for that. Shifting of the weight. Lifting the inner organs. So the movement is from the pelvis, from the torso, lifting and sinking, and the legs can just shift weight. And as you keep on doing it, find that you can actually put weight on the leg, and the other leg, maybe there has no weight or barely has any weight. Start playing with putting weight on the legs that you go towards that side. So we're no more only on the outside of the heel, but we're actually starting to rely on that foot and put weight on it as we exhale. And rest in the middle for a second, because I want to be corrective. So as we go to that side, and that's important because if I allow the knee to go inside my toe, if I see my knee inside the toe, I'm out of alignment and I'm creating tension on the outside versus I'm overextending on the inside. But if my knee is aligned with my second and third toe and I'm covering the toes, then I'm putting weight where then I can just let go that leg. But if I'm here, then things are out of alignment. So just play with that and be aware that this is a really important part in terms of like repeating a pattern that repeats injuries or finding a place for strength. So that's okay. So back into our finding that exhalation and joint compression as we exhale, and filling up with space in the joint as we inhale. And as you feel more and more comfortable, you can get your pelvis off the table And try and see if you can do it without the table. Or if you want to keep on doing it with the table, you keep on doing it with the table. As humans, we have our eyes on the horizon so we can see where we're going. And the torso is also up. So soft. And as you're landing, what happens to the toes? How much are you using all those feelers that we have? So see if you can be erect. And get the airiness and the compression through the joint, coming up and going down, through the torso, into the knee, into the ankle, into the toes. And can the toes be relaxed and like a fillers, like a little, what is it called in the, I forget the name in English. You know, the animal with the 8 legs or that fillers.
Octopus.
Octopus, thank you. Tamnun in Hebrew. And are you just shifting from side to side, or do you come up for air, an internal space and air as you're shifting to the other side? So still keep that filling up with air so you can compress. Filling up with air so you can compress. And start letting the other leg go off the floor and start finding yourself moving in space. You can go from side to side, you can go forward, you can go backwards, but only if you keep that internal expansion and compression. How much of a breathing in and how much of compression, and how soft is the compression, and how your feet becomes like the sensor that brings you the information that you can then inhale and expand and go into a step and compress and expand internally as little as you need or as big as you need. But stay in conversation with your inner, whether you're doing it fast or slow, or you're standing still in one place because it doesn't feel yet that you can shift. Can you lift the inner organs in your belly, in your torso? How high of the breath is in your lungs? Does it get all the way up to the top of your ribs? Where does it get stuck? And if it does get stuck, can you stop right there and just breathe a little bit into that place? So there's no right or wrong. You're looking for your own, whether you're working on balance within your brain or you're working on your balance because the space between your ribs and the hip are not there, or you're working on balance because an injury or everything is good and you're just trying to refine it. when you compress, where is the tailbone aiming towards? To the floor, or is it behind you? How far are my feet or my legs from one another to be able to shift the weight comfortably? And see if you can take it into somewhat walking. And each time the heel meets the floor, there is a compression, and every time the back foot is lifting, there is an inhalation, an expansion, and as the heel touches the floor, there is a compression and the knee bends. And do it slowly so you can, even though it's a normal walking, just slow it down so you can still feel that space and compression. Space and compression. So the knee is a pump. You can even see the compression into the bone, into the density of the bone as your knee bends, and the airiness in the bone as you're lifting to take a step. And start to translate it into a more normal way of walking, where you don't look at your feet, you're looking to where you're going. And see if you can make this more like a walk, and keep that compression and lightness translated into the feet feeling the floor, and feeling the weight going from one hip to the next hip. And maybe put even your fingers on your iliums and feel the iliums moving up and down, forward and back, kind of like a bicycle turning. See if you can look to where you're going rather than to look to the floor. You're not counting clouds and you're not counting ants. And once you feel the pelvis, let go the arms so the arms can go in opposition and the spine can start rotating around its own axis. And even though you have the hip moving and the spine rotating, that compression and expansion internally is still alive and well. And smile. And don't look to the floor. And don't look at the clouds. Look at the beautiful faces that you see on the way. And start smiling towards one another. It's not that serious. It's just shifting weight. Okay, cool. It's not easy to keep it all internally. Okay, come, sit on the table. Do you need to put anything underneath?
I have a brace on my knee. It's swollen,
Okay.
so it's a little stiff. But
Okay.
yeah, I'll try something underneath maybe.
So let's interlace the fingers. Interlace your hands. Look which finger is on the bottom. Your right one or your left one. That's your habit. But in the brain, well, there are more possibilities, right? So let's undo and put the other little finger on the bottom.
That feels very,
In the same way, no, in the same way.
very strange. Yeah.
Very strange. That's how attached you are to your pattern, to your habits. Now, habits are wonderful because we don't have to relearn everything every day. Imagine if you had to learn how to pick up the toothpaste and how to enter it into your mouth and on and on and on and on. You just know how to do it. But when we do things repetitive and habitual and we're not aware of it, we can repeat things. So let's see how many possibilities we have. So let's go back into the habitual way and just undo the fingers and switch. So put the base of the hands together, open the fingers and switch. There you go. Now it's starting to become more, oh, I know how to do that. It's, right? It's not as weird. A little weird, but not as weird. So open and put the other finger on top. The other one. Your left, no, that's your habitual one.
Okay, yeah,
And now put the
yeah.
No.
Now it's on top though.
no.
I don't know I guess I'm not understanding. I'm switching which finger's on top, which little finger? No?
So now this one will be on top. There you go.
Okay, so you're doing it with your index finger.
All of them.
Okay.
You can do it with looking at the little finger, or you can look at all of them need to move one.
Yeah, I think I just.
All of them need to move one.
Yeah.
Suddenly we become very ooh, something that little. Now in the brain we have a picture of our motor skills. It's called eumelagus. Eumelagus. So our mouth is huge, our thumbs are huge because those are the things that we use more. The little toe probably has very little place.
Mm.
Keep on moving from one to the next. Keep on doing it. So you're creating a new possibilities.
Too many fingers.
How many fingers do we have?
20.
Hundreds.
I started it with my grandfather, who used to have this. He would take 2 fingers and put it on the table and then switch this. And then he would do it really, 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 really fast. And I just wanted to be like my grandfather. So I learned how to do it. It's kind of like this.
Uh-huh.
So, okay, so we did this way. Now we're gonna turn the hands and we're gonna interlace the fingers this way. And now we're gonna switch and we'll do it this way. So the back of the palms are looking at one another. The back of the palms are looking at one another. And interlace. Do you want a chair?
I'm gonna try this. I just need more back support because it's painful. Okay, let's see, try again. Let's see the palms of the hands. Okay.
And change. And change. And change. And change. And that might seem really silly, but it's like, how much flexibility do we have in our brain, in our habits, if how we look at the world? And what are your toes saying?
They want to get in on the action.
They're wired, just like the fingers. Relax your shoulders. Don't take it so seriously. Bend your elbows. Okay, let it go. Is there another way to interlace the fingers? We just did that.
Yeah, just work down.
Yeah, okay, so now let's cross one arm over the other and interlace and interlace. Now, but relax the elbow and relax the shoulders.
I barely have a working right hand, so this is really tricky.
Oh, Maggie's becoming a pro.
It's like finger exercise, really.
Yeah. And it's a brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost the use of my left side on my TBI, so.
Uh-huh. Relax your toes, sit on both sides of the pelvis. Good, and let it go. Just remember which hand was on top.
Good luck with that.
And change and have the other hand on top, crossing. And this is the non-habitual way. Crossing that hand over the other one. And interlace.
Oh,
and
change the hand.
interlace. Yeah.
Okay.
And interlace. And interlace. And interlace.
Oh, I just don't have any communication with my brain.
Does it help to look?
It doesn't help. I mean,
It doesn't
nothing
help.
helps. It's my brain just doesn't.
But you
connect.
can teach your brain a little
Yes, I
bit.
know.
by
I know.
little.
Neuroplasticity at work.
So, yeah. So when you watch TV, if you ever do, this is something nice to do.
Shall do.
Oliver Sacks says if you sing or hum a tune.
What's that?
Oliver Sacks in his musicophilia says if you hum a tune,
Yes.
it's another part of your brain and you can do things differently.
Exactly right. Yes.
Wow.
Try that.
Are you humming now?
Me? No. But I,
And let it go.
Oh,
Another way of interlacing the hands?
behind you?
Yeah, we can do behind, but it still will be the same. But we can do this way, right? We can towards us and towards us.
in Israel, did you play all those children's games with your hands?
Right.
Like this is the church and this is the steeple.
Right.
Yeah.
And cat's cradle.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So why do we give up all these possibilities? And now again, just let it go and interlace the non-habitual weight. Is it a little easier?
A little.
A
Yes.
little easier. It's not as weird. It's just boring. Oh, this hand has an accent. All right. So with that possibility in the brain, let's get up again. And see if you can shift, just in a normal walk, shift from one leg to the other with a softness. Yeah, use the hand on the table. And really use the heel to toe, the breath and exhalation, the compression and expansion. And how does your walk feel now? And just walk now. Just walk, 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 walk. Just walk. Go somewhere.